Alright, today we're going to talk about is a fundamental counting principle, so it's also known as a multiplicative counting principle. So what this is, it's just determining how many ways certain choices can be made. So if there's two or more choices, we can use the fundamental counting principle. If one item can be selected so many ways, and for each way a second item can be selected a certain way, then the two items can be selected by multiplying the different ways. So basically, let's think of this example. If you're deciding what type of pizza to order, you can choose which crust and one topping. So if there's two crusts to choose from and 5 toppings available. So if you were to go plain, you could have onion, plain with olives, plain with ham, plain with green, and plain with mushrooms. Or you could have sesame with onions, sesame with olives, sesame with ham, sesame with green pepper, and sesame with mushrooms. So that's the long ways to make your tree. Or you can just multiply it to know that you have 10 different ways. So let's get started with our first example here. And it says a car model comes with the following choices. So we have 9 colors, with or without air conditioning, with or without a sunroof, with or without automatic transmission, with or without a spoiler, and with or without anti-lock brakes. So how many ways can the car be ordered? So just make sure you're looking at what option is happening and how many of those options you can get. So we said it was 9 colors, and then with or without. Well, that's 2 options right there. It's either with or without, and then the same would go with the others, with or without, with or without, with or without, and with or without. So once you've done all that, then you're going to go through and you're going to multiply all your options, and you have 288 ways. All right, so this one, you're about to take an 8-question multiple choice test. Each of the questions has 4 answers, A, B, C, or D. So how many ways can you answer the test if you leave an answer for each question? Well, that's pretty easy because you have 8 questions, and each question you've got 4 options you can choose from. So then you're just going to write this down, and then you're going to multiply it to figure out how many ways you have. And then once you're doing that, oops, did I not write down the answer? I did not. Okay. And then once you have that, you're going to get 65,536 ways. All right, so now we're going to start getting a little more specific with where numbers or things should go. So it's going to have 9 digits, and it's going to look similar to that. We want to know how many different social security numbers can be formed using any numeral from 0 to 9. Now, this is very important to notice. Make sure you put a star, highlight that, but whenever you're using, it's talking about numbers, you can only put one number for the spot, or if it's talking about a digit, and it would be digits 0 through 9. You can't put the number 10 in one of the spots such as this. So if it's asking like that, it's either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so if we can form using any number, we're just going to look, well, each option, if we have 10 digits. And what I like to do is I like to write whatever the format is that we're looking for. So notice we're doing here. And I like to put my dashes in there so that way I don't forget a number, because that's a lot of numbers and I could easily make a mistake. All right, so we got 1 billion ways. That's a lot. All right, so now here, this next one is different because we want to know social can be formed using any numerals with no repeats. So if we use one number, we can't use it again. So in this case, we would have 10 for the first option, but now we can't repeat that. So now you only have 9 options left, and you can't use those other 2 numbers, so you're left with 8. And if you notice, it's going to just decrease because now every time you use a number, that's one less option you can pick. And then you're going to get a really big number here. Let's see. So again, it's not this big, but that's with if there's any numbers anyways. But here, if there's no repeating, it's going to be a different number. So just make sure you're paying attention to that one. All right, now looking at number 4, we want how many different 4-digit alarm codes can be formed. The first digit must be a 2, 4, or 9, and all the other digits can be any number. So this is giving specific criteria to this first number. It can only be 3 options. But after that, you can do any number 0 through 9, and it didn't say anything about repeats here, so you've got 10 options for these. But this one, just be careful, because if it said the first digit must be these 3, that's why this number is different. And then go ahead and multiply those out, and that's what you get. So I like to kind of list what the criteria is for each, and then that way I make sure I put the correct information in there. So just like here, we have 5-character license plate, and the first 3 characters are letters, last 2 are numbers. So I know it's going to look like that. Now, just as a reminder, it's 26 letters in the alphabet, and then 0 to 9 is 10 digits. So let's look at option A. So for A, the first letter must be P, W, Q, E, L, or K. So when you're looking at that, you know that is 6 options. Oops. And then from there, you've got 26 letters, 26 letters. We've got 10 numbers, 10 digits, and 10 digits. And then when you multiply all that out, you have 405,600 ways. All right, now let's check this one, because now repetition of characters is not allowed. So our numbers are going to change. So the first letter must be P, W, Q, E, L, K. So similar to the last time, so we have 6 letters. Now, in this case, since we've already used 1 letter, we have 25 letters left. And then same thing here, since we've used 2 letters, now we have 24 letters. Now we're going to use the digits. So I've got 10 to choose from. Now once we used 1 digit, we have 9 digits left. All right. So for number 6, it says telephone numbers in the United States begin with 3-digit area code. So that's what I put here. And it's followed by a 7-digit local telephone number. So area code, so that's what I did there. Area codes and local telephone numbers cannot begin with a 0 or 1. So if you notice, this one, no 0, 1, and this one, no 0, 1. So now we need to go back and figure out which ones we can actually use. So if I can't use 0 or 1, I have 8 options I can use. And it didn't say anything about the repeats. But again, remember here is 8 since we can't use 0 or 1. And since it didn't say there aren't any repeats, we can just put 10 for all the other ways. Which that is a big number. So there you go for that one. And then number 7, if there's 8 horses in a race, how many ways can they finish first, second, and third? Well, if you finish first, you're not going to finish second or third. So once you finish first, that option is basically not repeating. So you're going to have 7 options for second place. And then once first and second place have won their prize, then you have 6 options to win third. All right, and then for number 8, it says a menu has 6 different sandwiches, 3 choices of potato, 3 types of salad, 5 different beverages. So I went through and I labeled all the different ways or things that we can have. So I've got 6 sandwiches, 3 potatoes, 3 salad, and 5 beverages. And that can be 270 different ways. All right, So what you're going to do is now we're going to go through and you're going to do the rest of these problems. I do want to point out, just make sure you're reading everything carefully because it will give you some rules or to tell you if a number can or cannot be used. So looking especially at number 11, if you have 8 seats, a boy must be seated in the first seat and a girl in the last seat. So just make sure you're watching for those rules. And then assume no person does 2 jobs. That basically means no repeats. Once they're doing one job, they can't do another. And then here, this one is similar to what we did before. So just read those options carefully and then multiply them all together. And then that is your fundamental counting principle, which is your multiplicative counting principle.